with the directing duo Alex and Steffen, and you are watching Eclectic Arts Media.
Because of the color green, not a lot of people choose it. I don't know why.
I call it silly little guy work. You get to just show up and have fun and be goofy.
Hi, I'm Jackson, and this is...
I'm Jake Shimobukuro.
Anytime I'm doing anything, he wants to be involved. This is Midnight.
If I can walk out of the ring the way I walked into it, I'm happy.
And that, and I'm like, I made it, I did it, and then I turned the wrong way, you know?
Life's not fair, is it?
I'm just going out meeting everyone dripping with sweat. Hey, who wants a hug? And then I'm singing and I'm going, I'm not all by myself anymore.
Oh, whoa. Whoa.
I know.
You are watching Eclectic Arts Media.
The amount of evenings where I am not at home, I'm in some other theater space, is like almost every single day of the year.
You know, even with editing, I get irritated. I'm like, but I get quite stubborn, you know?
An epic event.
And you sitting, okay, I believe you. So
I think I forgot your question, but I went on a different path, but it felt great.
And then I got to move on. I don't have time for this.
And I need to keep as much hair as possible because, particularly in Hindley Street, no one's got hair. You'd fit right in, Mark. So
I can't believe it's been that long since we talked. Time flies.
Hello, we're rolling cards.
Right. They may be super confused. Like, what is this woman talking about?
Projects with whatever theater I could reach around here, you know.
All right, look here. Hey, this is Alex Story for Cancer Slug. This is Cancer Slug. And you're watching Eclectic Arts Media. See, I said it right.
Well, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. I'm Mark Sugiyama from Eclectic Arts Media, based here in Seattle, Washington. And thank you so much for joining me on this Sunday, the 15th of February, 2026. And I'd like to thank James Lynch for joining me yesterday afternoon. It was great finally getting a chance to talk to James about his career and his background and everything else that he has an interest in. So that was fantastic talking with him. And speaking of which, coming up, my next scheduled live streams are tomorrow, Monday, the 16th of February, and the first one is scheduled for noon Pacific time, where I have Christopher Walters scheduled to join me. And Chris is a producer, director, actor. Specifically, he's promoting a documentary film that he was the producer on about a really interesting street artist down in Los Angeles. And it's going to be it's going to be opening up on digital this Friday. So we're going to be talking about everything under the sun. My understanding is I believe that film took almost 10 years to actually get from beginning to end. So it's a long period of time of them filming and doing all that kind of thing. And then also tomorrow at 6 p.m. Pacific in the evening, Ashley, it's either Blasky or Blask, I want to say, is going to be joining me, who's a terrific actor that I've had a chance to see several times here locally. And if you want to know what I have coming up, please follow me as Eclectic Arts Media, one word, on Instagram. That's where I post everything first. And then some of that information migrates over to other social media platforms. And if this is your first time on my YouTube channel, please do me a huge favor and hit the subscribe button as well as the notification bell. And if you're on the Twitch side of things, if you could follow me over there. Please be aware that if you'd like to ask my guests for this live stream or any ones that I have in the future, if you want to ask them a question or you have a comment, just join the YouTube channel or the Twitch channel. You should have pretty much immediate access to the live chat box. You'll see it. And I will fold in any questions that you have for my guest once there's kind of a pause during our conversation. So please be aware, I do see your questions, but I don't immediately ask them unless it kind of makes sense to ask it at that time. And also, if you're feeling in the giving mood, this streaming service costs me money every month. And I've been really fortunate that I've already had a few donations come in this year. There's a PayPal, me, and a Venmo link in every YouTube description and on the Twitch side of things of all of these live streams. But that's only if you're in a position to do so. But just know that the money goes right back into what I do to keep this thing going, getting me new equipment, I don't know, new clothes, so I look better when I'm on screen. But anyway, only if you're in a position to do so. I really enjoy doing this. And this is live stream number 11 this year. Total since I started on May 22nd, 2020 has been 436. And that's just the live streams. That's not in person. That's not phone interviews, email interviews, all that kind of stuff. So it's clearly something that I'm passionate about. I will be locally, if you're here in the Seattle area, I will be in person on Thursday and also on Saturday at 2 different events. And then the week after that, I've got 3 different events I will be at. So between virtual work and reviews and on-site interviews and all this kind of stuff, that's pretty much what Eclectic Arts is about. All right, this earbud keeps trying to work its way out of my ear. Okay, it's annoying me. My guest today is an actor with a wide range of skills and abilities. I've had the pleasure of seeing him in both comedic and dramatic roles, and he handled both with ease. His latest show at the Woodinville Repertory Theater, called Perfect Arrangement, opens this Friday, February 20th, and runs through March 15th. Please welcome to the Eclectic Arts Media virtual studio, Mr. BJ SMYTH. Hi, BJ. How are you, sir?
Well, I'm doing pretty well. I thank you for having me on.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time. I mean, I've had a chance to see you in several productions here locally, so this is going to be fun for me to get a chance to talk to you and your process and your background. And let's kind of start with what you have coming up for your show that's going to be opening up this coming week at the Woodinville Rep. What can you tell me about this role, this show? What's going on with it?
Well, it's called, as you alluded to, it's called Perfect Arrangement, and it's one of the few pieces of theater, TV, what have you, written about the Lavender Scare in the 1950s. So it's like early gay rights movement. So it talks about lavender marriages, which are basically fake marriages because people are half closeted, gay, half out. And yeah, it starts off as like a 1950s I Love Lucy sitcom kind of style. And then it gets very dramatic in the second act. And I won't give away too much, but it's a really strong cast, and it's my first time working at Woodinville Rep, and I'm having a great time.
Okay, and which character do you play?
I play Bob Martindale, who works at the State Department, and his job is trying to figure out who basically Soviet spies are within the government. So it takes place in Washington, D.C. And so my character is he's very like all-American government employee, but he's gay, and he's kind of the, yeah, without giving too much away, he has a very dramatic moment at the end of the show. But
okay.
yeah.
So anyone out there that's local, now you know to if you buy your tickets to obviously we don't want to give away the show what everything happens, but we want to get people to the show. And again, it starts this Friday, the 22nd. And I've been there only one time so far for a previous show, and it's really interesting because you have the options between paying a little extra for a dinner before everything starts. And then if you choose not to do that, then you can just buy a regular ticket and you can sit in an area to still see the show. It's right in Woodinville, and it's at the Cellars. I forget the name. The
DeLille. It might be pronounced Delisle. I've heard it both ways, but it's directly on top of the restaurant there. So it's like they've transformed it into a theater space. When the show goes up. So our set just got put up this last week, and we just got to see it for the first time. But yeah, I've gone and seen a couple shows there, and they always have really good production designs. Like their sets always look really nice. And I've done the dinner and a show option one time, and the food at that restaurant is outstanding. And they have really good wine too. So
yeah, no, that's cool. I remember smelling the food of what people were finishing up at the time.
Yeah.
And clearly, like you said, they have lots of delicious wines if that's something that you would like to do. So you can have a dinner and a show, or you can just have a show. Either way, you have some options for those that are local here. I'm it's so fun for me to get to talk to, especially a lot of the local talent that I've seen on stage. That I'm curious about, like, let's say with this show that you're doing right now, how do you approach your characters? Like, how do you, when you know that this is what you booked and here's what you're doing and you're looking through the script, how do you try to approach things for any given show?
I try to pay attention a lot to just what the text gives you. So I'm not one of those actors who spends a lot of time with like figuring out what my backstory is. I try to just focus on what the text provides, because I think that there's a reason that the playwright has, you know, put in the text what he's put in the text. And usually you can get enough out of that to turn it into, you know, a complex character. I do a little bit of research also. I read a book about the Lavender Scare. It's a pretty dense book, but it just talks about like that period of American history. It was like started in like 1948, and then it goes up until, our play takes place in 1950, but it goes up until like 1960. So it's a big, long period of time. So I did a little research on that, just, you know, reading about what it was like to be in America at that time. Watched a few, you know, PSA videos that the government put out about gay people and making sure that, you know, you watched out for them because they were going to get your kids. So it was a terrifying time in America. And then I also watched a show that's called, what is it? Fellow Travelers. I think that's the name of it. It's also an opera right now. It's going to be at the Seattle Opera. I didn't realize that, but I was driving to rehearsal one day and I saw a big sign up for it. So I'm sure it's going to be great. The TV show is really, really good. So there's a character in that I would kind of relate to my character in a way. He didn't do the same thing that my character does, but just kind of seeing what the era was like and how people had to be super, super secretive. But I usually, to answer your question, I usually just approach the text and spend as much time in the text as possible. And that usually helps me, you know, figure out enough of a framework to work off of so that when I'm in rehearsals, I at least come semi-prepared. Okay.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to be reviewing Fellow Travelers at the Seattle Opera on Saturday for opening night. So, yeah, that's interesting that you mentioned that show.
Yeah, I bet it's gonna be great. It really, like, when I saw the TV show, I thought, I mean, I saw the TV show because I was doing this play. And I was like, I can't believe nobody's written a play about this yet, because it's such a powerful time in American history and early gay rights history. It would suggest, it's very dramatic. Like, there's a lot of opportunity for dramatic elements. And with the opera, obviously, you can do a lot with that. So I think there's moments in this show, Perfect Arrangement, where it feels very opera-esque. Like, if they were going to break into a song randomly to express how they were feeling at the time, that wouldn't seem out of the ordinary. So I think, I think it's going to be a good show. Hopefully you will come see Perfect Arrangement too, and you'll get kind of a little taste of that time period.
Yeah, I'm hoping that I can get it out there. I know Ingrid mentioned it to me from your cast and said, Mark, you know, I'm going to be in this show. It opens on this day. So, okay, I have it on my radar at least, so I can try to figure things out.
The character that Ingrid plays is just perfect. When I found out that she was cast in it, I was like, Ingrid, this character you are made for this character. She does such a good job. So.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. Yeah. So hopefully I'll see the opera and hopefully see your show, and then I can see some of the things that are similar, just with that, like you're talking about that period of time in American history, what was going on, and so yeah, and I'm looking forward to it. So I have such a random mind sometimes. I actually wrote down in my notes, I was supposed to start with something else, and I just jumped right into your show. But and people that watched my interviews know that's how I am. I'm all over the place. But I want to put up a picture on screen for everybody to see. It's a picture of myself with somebody else. And I want to know how you know this person before I forget, because I know I will. So I'm going to do it right now.
Doug Jones.
Yes, I saw that on your social media. How do you know Doug Jones?
Well, my aunt knows Doug Jones. My Aunt Carolyn, who lives in Kentucky, she's known him for years and years and years and years. And I met him initially when he was on a set. I don't know what it was, what the set was. I actually had lunch with him a few weeks ago. That's probably why you're bringing this up. But we were trying to remember what he was on set for. And I think he told me, but I forgot. But I was like 9 years old maybe. I think 9, in Vancouver. And we met up and had lunch or something like that. I don't really remember. I have pictures of meeting him. And then fast forward 10 years, 9 years, I was backpacking with a good friend of mine, Tim, who now lives down in LA. But we were backpacking to Europe for 3 months. I had just graduated high school and I was taking a year off before going to college. And so we were like trying to find places to, like, people to stay with, and then also just people to meet up with while we were over there. And I was talking to my aunt about this, and she was like, oh, you should go see if you can see Doug, because he's going to be in Budapest for 6 months filming Hellboy 2. And so we got connected with him, and he was gracious enough to, like, let us know where he was staying. And we went and had lunch in the hotel restaurant there. And he spent like 3 hours with us just talking about life and film sets and being in movies. And it was so fun. So I had lunch with him then, and then when I was going down to LA about a month ago, I had reached out to him to see if he wanted to connect and have lunch down there. And he was, once again, he's like one of the nicest people you will ever meet. He was gracious enough to meet me for lunch, and we sat and chatted for 2 to 3 hours. And I asked him about what it was like getting started in the film industry. And yeah, so I'll probably, every like 8 to 10 years, I'll have lunch with him. That's how I know him. But where did you meet him?
That's really cool that's how you know him. And I met him in 2014 at Crypticon Seattle, a horror convention that he was at. And so that's actually where that picture was taken. So I was there as media. So I don't know him like you know him. I know him from like a fan's point of view or what have you. But what I do remember is that one of the 3 days when I was there, I was with I brought a friend / assistant, and she was a huge fan of his role in Pan's Labyrinth. And some of the other roles, of course, Shape of Water and everything else. But it was his birthday that particular. I think it was a Saturday, if I remember right. So we were going over to him, and somebody had given him a Kit Kat bar with the 4 bars, of course. And I don't remember if we sang happy birthday to him or if we just toasted happy birthday to him. But he opened it up and he gave each of us, a bar of that Kit Kat, and I remember we cheered him. And he, like you just said, he was arguably, of all the people I've ever met, the nicest person. I mean, there's just the energy he puts off is so nice. And so, I mean, even again, with that picture of him grabbing my head and hugging me, that's him.
That's the epitome of like who he is. He's so sweet and so nice and so open. Yeah,
that's exactly. That's exactly what we found too. I mean, and my, I do remember my friend was kind of shy to begin with, so she didn't have like 2 words coming out of her mouth when she got to meet him. So I was kind of talking to him, and he was just so present, and he was not trying to rush us away. And there's other people that wanted to meet him and get autographs and photos and all that kind of thing. And that's just been, and I know from some of the people that don't live here anymore, that's been his MO, anyone, anywhere that he's met. Everybody, I don't know anyone's ever had a bad word to say about that man. So just goes to show you, that's who he is.
Yeah, and he talked to me a lot when I was down there about how important he thought it was to just be as kind as possible to everybody, because you never know when you're gonna, meet someone in another audition room or in another space, and having those connections. Like he's been called up for projects a lot of times just because somebody remembered how like easy he was on set. And they would prefer to go with somebody like that than somebody that they haven't worked with, or somebody who maybe doesn't have the best reputation. But that's been his MO since he started in the industry. And he's just kept it going. And I'm like, and I was like, well, that's good to know. That's how I want to be. And I feel like a lot of people want to, well, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people want to be that way, but I'm always like, I just want to be as nice as possible to people and like good to work with. So so people want to work with me again. Seems like a pretty simple thing, but yeah, he's a real sweetheart, and he's so talented and so unique too. He has such a unique talent.
Yeah, he does. And again, for people, if you're not familiar with Doug Jones's work, just when you're done with this, go look on IMDb or something and see the filmography of what he's been in, the roles he's played. I'm sure you've seen something that he's been in, if you're not quite aware of the name or how he looks without makeup or prosthetics or things on.
Yeah.
He's an amazing actor for sure. And that's also for you. I mean, that's a nice person to have, since you're going to be, going down there and looking to get into the film industry. And that if there's some kind of situation, almost like a crossroads situation, you can kind of bounce it off of him about, hey, this is what's being presented to me. Is this right? Because my gut's kind of telling me there's something kind of off with this. He could tell you probably in 2 seconds what's up with this thing. That's always a huge plus to have in your corner.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I'm trying to. Any connections you can have like that are super valuable. So yeah, he's a great person to know. And I started talking to him. I don't want to, we can turn this interview into just talking about Doug Jones. I would talk to him about him for an hour if I could. But he was telling me he's going to start. He's been doing some more projects that are him as himself, and so he's kind of stepping away from like the prosthetics side of things. He was telling me about like when, being in Pan's Labyrinth or Shape of Water, those shows, like when he's in those prosthetic costumes, you have to be in them for 12, 14 hours a day. And it's just like, you don't think about all the things that affects, and it's just exhausting. Like you have to dehydrate yourself so that your bladder doesn't get full. And it's just, and he's like, I think I want to just be myself. So he's been doing a lot of projects where it's just him without the prosthetics, but you're right. A lot of people don't recognize that it's him.
Yeah, that's a really great point that you bring up, because I remember he was talking to us even way back then about yoga and things that he does to keep his body in shape, because when he's in all that stuff, it's like, man, it just takes its toll on his body. So he's got to be fit to be able to hang in there, basically. Wow. But so I'm great. Thank you for giving me that information. When I saw that on your social media, I'm like, wait a minute, that's Doug Jones. How does BJ know Doug Jones? But let's get back to you, sir. One of the shows that I know I saw it twice was with As If Theater Company, which was Ripcord. And your comedy timing, and then also the dramatic parts that you need to have in there, playing the character that you did. It was so perfect because there's so much zaniness going on in that show. what memories do you have of doing that production?
Well, first of all, thank you. That's very sweet. My memories of that production were, boy, we had a really great director. Chris Shea was the director of that show. And he is one of my favorite directors I've ever worked with. He was really easy going, and he wanted to really bring everybody in on a collaborative effort. And he wasn't afraid to give notes and just be direct, which I appreciate as an actor. I really like, I like when I get very direct, straightforward notes and not people being like, well, maybe you could try, to do it like this. And obviously most actors don't like, when somebody just gives you a line reading of how to say something. So Chris was very conversational about, what his vision for the show was, asking questions about the character. And he's just a really great guy. So I loved working with Chris. And then the two leads, Mary and Susan, I don't know if I'll ever get to work with two actors that I have been so impressed with. They both showed up to the first rehearsal off book, and they carried that show and had a lot of lines. So I was just and obviously Ashley was in the show. Brian, another actor who fantastic, was in the show. Chris. It was a good cast. I mean, it was a really good cast. It was a good director. Those two leads, I was like, oh, I love this. So every day at rehearsal, I was like having to step my game up. But it was so easy. Everybody made that process so easy, and we all had a lot of fun. And it was such a weird show, and it had those very heartwarming moments, and sad moments as well, and then the weird clown moments. I mean, it had a lot of different elements, but yeah, just the cast. I loved the cast. I felt very lucky to be a part of that.
Okay, yes, that's very cool. I remember looking into the leads' backgrounds after I saw it the first time. I'm like, oh my gosh, look at all the stuff that they've been a part of or that they're currently doing. And I'm like, it's like having two artistic directors basically in the cast right then and there. So it's like I said, oh, no wonder they're the way they were once I found out their backgrounds. And then again, I'd already seen you a few times, so I knew what you could bring to the table. And so it's like, yeah, I was telling somebody else recently that's nice that I've been reviewing enough shows locally that I'm starting to know. I can look at an upcoming show and say, I know half that cast already. I've seen them in this, and this. And versus when I first started in 2018, when I didn't know anyone from a hole in the wall, it was just kind of slowly building that. It's like, I'm not going to cherry pick things. I'm going to keep going and different types of theater in different areas and kind of see what I like and don't like. And kind of also see what is it about certain people. If I see, like you, for instance, if I see you perform, what is it about your performance that I liked? What's drawing me in? And that kind of helped me look at other characters and other performances and that type of thing. And I do remember you in Tartuffe at Phoenix.
Okay, yeah.
And I know I saw you in another production at Phoenix, but it's escaping my memory right now.
The only other, it was probably Move Over Mrs. Markham.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, that was I just did the Christmas show there, but that was my, I've only done those 3 shows at Phoenix, but I love Phoenix. And that Move Over Mrs. Markham was, I worked with a bunch of actors in that show that I have not worked with again, but they were all, it was also such a fun cast to be a part of, and such a weird show also. Phoenix is fun. They pick weird shows. Sometimes I love the scripts that they pick. Sometimes I'm like, but when they get a good one, it's like so funny. Like the Tartuffe, a translation of that taking place in the 1980s New Orleans, and Tartuffe is a televangelist. It's like, that's like comedy gold. So I had a great time.
That's cool. And since we're talking about Phoenix and for the majority of their shows, they're comedic shows. How do you feel really comfortable with comedy versus drama, or it's like doesn't matter? I'm good with either one.
I like either one. I think I'm a little more drawn to comedy because it's a little more challenging in general. I think that comedy is harder to do well. But I think a lot of actors want to get that, like real gritty character and like a, in a drama, and like yell on stage and all that. And that's great too. But like being able to make an audience laugh and give them something to laugh at for 2 hours when they come to the theater is right. They're both cathartic, like laughing and crying. But I think laughing it holds a special place in my heart. So I think I always am kind of drawn back to comedies.
Okay, yeah, no, I most of the other actors that I've talked to, when I posed that same question to them, they said the same thing, that comedy is harder to do. And so to them, it's more of a challenge, and it's something that they enjoy, that challenge of it. And yeah, if your timing is not right, or just things aren't quite working with how you're presenting it to the audience. I mean, if you hear crickets and there's supposed to be laughs going on, something's not something's not right with this.
It must be the audience's fault.
Of course.
They just don't get it.
Yeah.
Don't you realize it's a joke?
Yeah, it's because people like me are sitting in the audience. We have no sense of humor.
Yeah, right. Come on.
I remember the first show of any live event that I came back to kind of post-pandemic was at the Phoenix. And it was in like October of 2021. And they were still doing the like 35% capacity thing in the theater.
Yeah.
And so before any concerts, before any musicals, opera, ballet, anything, that was the first thing that I felt safe enough to kind of go back to. And I just remember sitting, and I don't actually honestly remember much about the show. I just remember sitting there, and it was so weird that there's like somebody way over here and somebody over here and over here. It was so nice to finally be back in that space, don't get me wrong, but it was just kind of like, is this a dress rehearsal, or this just kind of feels a little odd?
We're so far removed from that, from that time. It's hard to remember what that was like, even though it was only a few years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Every now and then I'll have a like a memory come up on social media, and I'll have something like I'm covering the opera and I've got a mask on because that's what was required at the time. I'm like, God, that looks so like it was 20 years ago, but just like you said, it wasn't that long ago. Yeah. And I recently had to make a visit to a hospital, not for myself. Of course, I had to be masked up and everything in there, but I'm like, oh, now I have to go back to this world of wearing a mask in everywhere I step inside this building, which I understand, of course, but it's just like, this is so strange. And but I remember I was really emotional sitting there at the Phoenix, just because it was my first time back to any kind of event that I was covering. And I kept talking about thinking about, man, this is what I've been missing for the last like year and a half. And then I covered a concert at the Edmonds Center for the Arts the next month or next 2 months or whatever. And it's the first thing that I got to actually dust off my camera and take photos at a concert like I used to do. And it was like, try to focus, Mark, focus on the job at hand, because if I don't, I'm probably going to like space out and maybe even tear up a little bit, because it was so like, I'm finally back. I don't care if I have to wear this and I got to show you some card or whatever. I'll do it. Just kind of get me back in that space. And so moving forward all these years, and here we are in 2026, I don't take any of it for granted at all. And some companies are still struggling. I mean, they're already put into a hole with, the pandemic, and they're trying to get out of it. They basically had like double or triple their income to try to get even again. So this is something I've been talking about during all of these live streams this year about. Anyone doesn't have to be here in Seattle. If you're anywhere in your own community, is to get out and see a live performance. If it's theater, concerts, poetry slam, stand-up comedy, whatever your thing is, and whatever your budget is, there's options, unless you're like in some rural town and you got to drive 2 hours to get to something. But Seattle, we're really lucky that way. We have options here, based on your budget, and and also quality. And if you want to see a comedy, if you want to see a drama, if you want to see a musical, there's a bunch of different things going on at any given time. It's really wonderful.
Yeah, there's opportunities to see something every night and see something for $5, $10, $30. You can spend more if you want to also, but you know, it's nice to have all of the fringe options, the community theaters, and yeah, like you mentioned, like stand-up nights or open mic nights. Seeing anything like that, there's a lot of opportunity.
There absolutely is. Last year, I went to the Edmonds Black Box at Edmonds College for the first time. I went to 2 high school productions just to kind of see what Actually, I went to 3. I just forgot. I went to 3 of them, and it's like, man, look what they're doing. And one of them, I went back to see it a second time. It was so good. I'm like, this is ridiculous. What's going on here?
Which one? Do you remember what the production was?
Yeah, it was Alice by Heart, and it was at Juanita High School in Kirkland.
Oh, nice.
And I didn't know anything about that show. I didn't know anything about that school or the director/drama teacher. I sent her an email after I saw it the first time about how blown away I was, and then said I'm just here just to check things out as a community member. But here's kind of what I do, for fun as a reviewer. Yeah. And she told me, I remember she said she was going to read my email to her class.
Awesome.
I'm like, good, please do that. Because I said, I was so impressed. And it wasn't just the people on the stage. She had somebody right at the front door, opening the door, welcoming you in. They had people here taking your money. They had people here trying to sell you a T-shirt. They had people like, everyone had a job, and they knew to take it, seriously, but also be fun. And it's like, of course, people behind the stage and doing all the productions and the wardrobe stuff. And I'm like, holy mackerel. And then I'll give a plug to Bothell High School. Had a really great production of, it's the Jimmy Stewart movie. That kind of zany, crazy thing from slipping my mind. But then I also saw Little Mermaid over at Shorecrest High School. And yeah, some of those kids were singing their asses off. I mean, it was just like, am I at the Paramount or where am I right now?
Yeah. I went to Ingram High School, off of 130th and Aurora. Go Rams. Heidi Ovison is the theater director over there. And she was when I went to school there too. And their theater department has gotten so much better. So I would recommend checking out a show there too. I have a couple friends who went and saw their production. I wasn't able to make it to it, but they saw their production of Hadestown. And my friend Jay, who has lived in New York as an actor, worked in LA, now lives here locally, and his wife Jenny is an actor and director in town. Jay was like, this might be my favorite show that I've ever seen in my life. And I was like, what? But it was like he was saying the dedication to the vision of the show that they were trying to perform, like everybody was in on it. And when you get that buy-in from people, like, it doesn't really matter that they're, 14, 15, 16, 17-year-olds. When you get that buy-in, like, they can make something special. And that's the beauty of live theater and high school theater. I love my experience there. It was a lot of fun.
Very cool. I wrote that down to kind of check out, see what they have coming up either this month or for their spring musical, if that's what they're doing at Ingram. And maybe I can get out there. And when I went back the second time, I brought a friend who was equally blown away by the show that we saw at Juanita. And she said the same thing, is because one of the scenes, one of the actors has to be in drag and be fully in drag, because that's like the comedic moment in that show. And he completely leaned into it 100%. And that's why it worked. And then it was like every scene was like these little mini movies. There's so much attention to detail of what that director wanted. Then I found out she choreographed all of it too. And I'm like, holy crap, I thought you were going to tell me, well, Mark, I had this help and this help and this. And it was all her. And then, yeah, like you said, the students completely bought into it. There was one gal that I'm like, they had this whole caterpillar for Alice in Wonderland. So all the students are a different piece of the caterpillar. And the gal that was in the second spot, she was not lead. She was definitely part of the ensemble, but she got like, I don't know, maybe 30 seconds to sing some part of a song. And her voice was just beautiful. And I'm like, oh, okay, maybe you're like a freshman, so you're not getting
Oh,
these other parts yet, but
Yeah.
you're ready because your voice is like, holy crap, who is that?
Yeah, just waiting in the wings.
Yeah. So again, for folks that are watching this, if you haven't been out to a show of any type, look into your community. And again, it could be high school, it could be junior college, or 4-year college, community theater, professional, whatever you want. And there's sliding scales. There's pay what you can. There's all kinds of different ways to kind of work things out. Even places like here locally, the Pacific Northwest Ballet and the Sail Opera, they have days where you can pay like $5 or $10 to see a show. So they're trying to make it accessible for people and not be exclusionary like a lot of people have it. Well, I can't afford this. No, if you can make it on that day, you actually can afford this. So there's no excuse.
That's right.
But BJ, you mentioned that you were in the drama department at Ingram. So when did you first get interested in acting and the arts? How far back did we go here?
I mean, I did little school productions. I don't really remember them too well. I did like productions in church growing up. But when I actually got into theater, I have a brother who's 3 years older than me, and he was a senior in high school and I was a freshman, and he was the Tin Man in Wizard of Oz. And they were trying to recruit more people for the show. They wanted to get as many people involved as possible. And so he was like, do you want to be in this show? And I was like, well, I'm playing basketball. I don't want to do that. But then I decided to talk to the drama teacher, and then I signed up to be a munchkin. So I was a munchkin in Wizard of Oz. And I just fell in love with the community and like the people. They were all like, I was like, oh, these are the people I like, a bunch of weirdos. This is my people. So then that was my last year that I stopped playing basketball, and I decided to get into theater. And then I fell in love with that. And so I decided I went to SPU when they had a theater department, and did 4 years at SPU, did theater there. And then I worked at Taproot Theater for like 8 years as a house manager and a backup custodian. And then I did the road company for 2 years. Are you familiar with, I feel like you're familiar with Taproot, right?
Yeah. Actually, of all the theaters locally, that's the one I know the best.
Yeah, me too. I spent a lot of time there between 17 and 25. So I did road company there for 2 years, and that was probably my favorite job that I ever had. And did their Christmas touring a little bit as well. And then I stopped doing theater for like 8 years. I currently work at Toyota of Seattle. Shout out Toyota of Seattle. I work as a service manager down there. So I've been doing that for the last 10 years. And I only recently got back into doing theater in late 2023. Because of my friends that I mentioned, Jay and Jenny Cross. Jenny was directing Wonka at Driftwood. And Jay was like, do you know who would be a good Wonka? BJ. And so she asked me if I wanted to audition for it. And I was like, I haven't done theater in like 8 years. Not really. But I agreed to audition for it, which was like 8 months later. And so I did, and then I got cast in it. And the rest is history. I fell back in love with theater, and I'm like, now I'm gonna quit my job of 10 years and move to LA. So if that's not love, Mark, I don't know what is.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you for giving me your backstory. And that means so your time at Taproot was probably before I was reviewing things, since I didn't start till 2018. So I'm guessing that's when you were already maybe working your Toyota job. Or
yeah, I started at Toyota in 2015. So
okay.
it was pre that. I was there when they had the fire happen back in 2010.
Oh.
And yeah. Taproot was it was like a second family to me for a while. They do such good work, and it's such a cool theater space. And now they have the second theater there too, which is awesome. That was a result of the fire, so I mean, I think they were planning on adding another theater space, but that helped kind of kickstart it. And that Black Box theater they have there is super nice. I like it a lot.
Yeah. I don't know if you and I would be talking right now had Taproot not replied to my email. So I started off covering music and concerts and all that kind of thing back in 2011. And then I wanted to do an interview. I love doing interviews with people. So I got to do an interview with a touring musical in 2018 at the Paramount. And I go, okay, I know there's a ton of theaters around here. And I have nothing against them. I just have never gone. So I'm thinking, well, which one should I go to? And at Taproot, I had covered a concert in the Isaac Studio like in March of 2018. I said, oh, what about that place in Greenwood? So I looked at their website and I found the press contact and reached out to Isaiah at the time. And he said,
Isaiah.
Yeah, and he was like, well, normally I wouldn't put somebody in at the end of a run. I think that show was going to end like that week or something. But I said, but I want to welcome you here. So you go ahead and pick out a day and I'll let you know. I'll put you into that show. And it was Lady Windermere's Fan. I remember the show. And I really enjoyed it. So then I just kind of spun around again. I used to live in Edmonton. So I'm like, well, what's out here? And I found Driftwood and I found Phoenix. And it just kind of spread from there. I was like, this is really cool what's going on here. And then I ended up at the P&B and the Seattle Opera and all this other kind of stuff kind of came later and doing film reviews and streaming reviews. But the theater stuff, yeah, it started with Taproot and the way that Isaiah was so welcoming to me. He set up a lot of in-person interviews for me because he's like, Mark is just so into it. Because once I get into things, yeah, I want to know more and I want to talk to these creatives that are doing this stuff on the stage because it's all new to me. I have no acting background whatsoever. It's strictly music, writing, photography. So it was completely foreign to me. So I loved it. And I just did one in December there in person. So yeah, and then with him being over at the Fifth Avenue now, and like we were talking pre-show, once you kind of know people and if they kind of move around, then it's just interesting that, hey, they know you here now. And I remember Anne used to be up at the Village Theater and then she's over at Fifth Avenue. And it's just like, and it's like you were saying earlier, and what Doug Jones was talking about, being nice to people. You never know where you're going to run into this person somewhere along the line. And it's true for me down here. I can tell you the story since you mentioned Taproot. When Nikki Vissel was there. Vissel, yeah. Nikki was great to me. And we were talking after she had hired a new communication manager at the time. And I came in there, we're having coffee. I was looking for a new job at that point. She didn't know I was looking for a job though. She just wanted to kind of pick my brain about a few things. And she told me that all of the communication people in the area, or at least most of them, 2, maybe 3 times a year, they get together. And Gary Tucker over at the Pacific Northwest Ballet is usually the one that spearheads that. So they have a get together, they kind of talk shop, try to figure out, problem solve things. And then I guess at the end of this meeting, he said, does anybody know this Mark Sugiyama guy? Because he asked about covering a show here at the P&B. And Nikki knew me from Taproot. So she spoke up and vouched for me. Oh, yeah, he's been great. He shows up. He actually does the reviews on time and blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay, well, I'll approve him. I thought I got in on my own at the P&B.
Yeah.
I found this out a few years later. And I'm like, hey, but I appreciate her, of course, saying a nice word for me. But I guess my credentials weren't good enough at that time.
Yeah, well, hey, that's not a bad thing though. At least you got in.
Yep, exactly.
No, it's great. It's a good, but it's like a really nice feeling when somebody vouches for you in any area of life. Like that's such a high compliment to get. So that's wonderful.
Yeah, no, thank you. I do appreciate that. And I definitely appreciate it more now the further I've gotten into this industry and everything. But as we have about 10 minutes or so, I wanted to ask you too about, so you mentioned you're making this move to LA and you want to get into film and probably everything in that, that ballpark of film or voiceovers or, anything that's kind of working there, commercials. What what is just kind of the right time to do it? You're just kind of like, if I don't do it now, I'll never do it, or what's prompting this move?
Maybe a midlife crisis of sorts. But as I've gotten more into theater the last couple of years, or gotten back into it, and I've been working a full-time job at a car dealership, which, if anybody listening right now, if you've worked at a car dealership, it's kind of a high-stress job. So it's exhausting by itself, even if I didn't have rehearsal at night to go to. And for the last 2 years, I've been in 10 shows, so it's like just constant. So I don't really have much of a break, and it's exhausting, and it's okay, and I can deal with it. But I've just realized more and more that what makes me happy is entertaining an audience and creating a character and working collaboratively with creative people. And I don't want to work at a car dealership anymore. I love the people at Toyota. I wouldn't have stayed there for 10 years had I not loved everybody there. I don't have a car background at all, so I should also say that. I just happened to start there because a friend recommended that, hey, if you're looking for somewhere to make a career, this would be a good opportunity. And it was a great place. But yeah, I'm at a point in my life. I'm 37. I've lived in Seattle my whole life, and I want to try to go to a different city, try to do something new, face a new challenge. I've never done film acting at all, except a couple little things here and there, but nothing remotely professional. So it's going to be a big learning curve for me, but I have a little money saved up, so I can go down there and not hopefully be a desperate actor, but just go down there and start to join the community, take a few classes, get involved with a few things that way, and then see what happens. So yeah, I do feel like and I made the decision to go about 14 months ago. And so I gave Toyota like a big notice. I told them, I was like, hey, I'm going to be moving to LA. And they were obviously bummed about it, but also really excited for me. But I gave them, like over a year's notice. So I gave them plenty of time. So I wasn't like making a rash decision. If it is a midlife crisis thing, I was like, I want to give it time. I'm not going to just like walk out the door today, And 14 months later, I still feel like it's going to be a good decision for me. I feel excited about it, a little bit terrified about it, but mostly excited.
Okay. No, that's really cool that you're, like we talked pre-show, that you're going to go down there and there's something that you want to do and you're passionate about it. And like you said, you gave them, plenty, many months notice at your day job. And it's like, yeah, this is something I want to do. And I'm going to get down there and immerse myself in things and, meet people and kind of see, as we all know, a lot of it's word of mouth and, who's who and where's where and what's going on with this stuff. And even like, I know I've met some people that did a lot of jobs as extras on film to kind of get their foot, just kind of build up that resume for film work. And even that was like, gosh, it was before I was ever doing any of this kind of stuff. And they were telling me about, meeting Tom Hanks at one point and meeting this person and who they liked and who they didn't like. And I'm like, this is all, I was just fascinated because I'm kind of a film geek. So I wanted to hear every little thing that they had to say. And and then one gal was working, she had a really like a high paying tech job up here, and she kept her house here, decided to rent it out, went down to LA and did that. So she was like on stuff with David Duchovny and just a whole laundry list. So things were really going well. And then the pandemic hit. And so I actually don't know what she's doing now, or maybe she shifted gears, but I was just looking at her social media all the time. It's like, man, now she's doing this and she's doing this and she's doing this. So yeah, it should be a really exciting time for you to get down there and see what you can do. And like we were talking earlier, you've got somebody in your corner and Doug Jones that can kind of keep you on the right path if you have questions about things. And just explore it. So that's cool. I talk about how so many times people think about something, but they don't actually do it. Even if it's like getting into theater here locally, or trying to do something, you know, being a volunteer or stage manager or whatever it is. But you're taking a big leap, and that's so admirable to me.
Yeah, I mean, life is hard, you know, like when working a day job, like, is very exhausting. So it's like, it takes a lot of energy, I think, to get up and go do something else. But if that brings you joy, like the reason most people do theater in Seattle, at least, you know, at least the people I know, is like, they have to do it because it gives them joy in their life. And it feeds something that otherwise would not be fed. We all obviously have to work because we need money to pay the bills. But it's, you know, for people who like don't have the energy to go out and do stuff in this time of their life, like, I understand it. Like, I get it. Like, I went through a rough patch during the pandemic where it was like, I didn't want to do anything, you know, other than just thank God I had my job so I could like show up to work every day. But, you know, people go through seasons, and I'm in a season right now where I've reached a point in my life where I feel joy, and I also can kind of see like a path to trying something else, like in a smart way, not an irrational way, not yeah. I feel like it's a good time to kind of make that leap. And I don't want to look back. I've had a lot of people say like, you know, you don't want to look back and say, what if? So, and I don't. And you only live once, you know? It's like, we gotta make the most of it and try it. Even if it sounds crazy, just try it. Just do it. You know, audition for that show. Just see what happens, you know?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I don't know how many times I have a friend that always say, Mark, what are you afraid of? And I'm like, what are you talking about? We could be talking about something like she wants to jump out of an airplane. I'm like, I have no interest in jumping out of an airplane. But she's an adrenaline junkie, and I'm so not that. So that's why I'm like, you can do that all you want, and all your other friends can do it, but I'll do these other things with you. We'll go see a show, or we'll go to a concert, or if I need to go on, I don't know, on a boat or something. But you know, certain things that I'm not going to do. But yeah, to your point, it's like, yeah, you only got this time that you have right now. So it's like, what do you want to do? Oh, you have an interest in doing that? I mean, this whole media thing, I started what I consider late. It was completely organic. I wasn't trying to start it, but then once I got the opportunity, then I just started massaging that opportunity like I normally do with everything in my life, and just kept pushing off on different areas. And then I had no idea that I would be talking to an actor from a play that I saw, you know, or different plays I've seen many times here locally. That's the furthest thing from my mind. So, and here we are. But as we're getting close to finish this up, I do want to ask you something else that's a little bit random. I also saw on your social media that a week ago, you were actually at the Super Bowl.
Uh-huh.
Tell me about that experience.
Well, my other brother, who's a little bit older, our oldest brother, I will just say managed to get us tickets to the Super Bowl. So we just had to figure out airfare. And we've been trying to do a brothers trip for a while, and this just turned into like the most epic brothers trip imaginable. We did wine tasting in Napa for 2 days, and then went to the Super Bowl. And I've never been to a Super Bowl, and it was by far the coolest sport going experience of my life. It was just, and obviously the Seahawks won, so that was great. I think people watching at home probably didn't get a great game, but we were loving the game. You know, it was just like the spectacle of just being there at the event was so cool. And we got to wine taste in Napa before that. It was like, even if we just did the wine tasting, like, and just having like brother time, which we hadn't had in several years, that would have been worth it in itself. And then on the last day of the trip, oh, we're going to the Super Bowl also. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that.
That's
so.
Yeah, that's amazing, because I saw at least one photo that you had posted of yourself there, and I'm like, holy shit, that's got to be amazing. And then we won the game and everything else. Yeah. So, oh wow,
it's very cool, very cool.
Awesome. I have a friend that was part of the Seagulls back. When was this? 2013, the first year that we went to the Super Bowl. Obviously, won it in this giant stadium, and for her. Her boyfriend at the time said he couldn't afford to go, so he wasn't going to be there and all that kind of thing. But what she didn't know is that secretly he did get airfare and a ticket and all this other kind of stuff. So he showed up after they won that Super Bowl against Denver and cleaned their clock, and he found her after the game and proposed to her. So she was like, "Oh my God, I finally got."
Did she say yes?
She did. She did say yes.
Okay.
She couldn't vote. Yeah, it took her like 3 years to get on the squad, and so the first year she got the squad, they go to the Super Bowl and they win the Super Bowl, and then she gets proposed to, and she's like, "This is some sort of fairy tale, right?"
Unbelievable. Yeah, it was like a Disney story.
Yeah, it sounds. That's what your situation reminded me. Like you're talking about the wine tasting in Napa, and you get to go to the last day of the trip to the Super Bowl, and then they won the Super Bowls. Like you got brother time, and it's like, just like there's nothing but good things happened.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it was the trip of the year for sure.
Awesome. Well, BJ, thank you so much for taking the time today. It was great talking to you and getting to know more about you. And I wish you all the success down in LA with your career and everything that you're going to be doing down there. And also with your show that opens up this Friday again. Everybody out that's local, don't forget that he's not leaving yet. So you can still see him. Yeah, see him do his thing with everybody else in Woodinville Repertory Theater. And everybody that's watching, thank you for tuning in. And again, get out to a live show, whatever that show is. Get out there and see what's going on in your community. We need the support all the time, not just some of the time. BJ, thank you so much. Have a great night.
Thanks, Mark. I appreciate it. Nice to chat.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye.